Welcome to Dark Tale Delights. Thanks for listening to the stories I post, and if you like the stories, please subscribe and like the channel to help us grow. Now, enjoy the story. The Dare. The night hung heavy over Raven Shadow, a small town draped in shadows and mystery. Streetlights flickered, casting intermittent glows that danced with the darkness. Amidst the quiet, a dilapidated slaughterhouse stood, its rusted gates creaking in protest against the wind. This place, whispered about in hushed tones, was the canvas for the three friends' ill-fated adventure. Alex, Sarah, and Mark, the trio known for their shared penchant for the thrill of the unknown, found themselves drawn to the tales surrounding the forsaken abattoir. As the clock struck midnight, Alex, the ringleader of their escapades, proposed a challenge that would test the limits of their courage. He spoke of capturing the supernatural on camera, luring his friends into a nightmarish expedition. With a mischievous glint in his eyes, Alex dared his companions to venture into the haunted slaughterhouse, armed only with cameras and recording devices. Sarah hesitated, sensing the weight of the tales that clung to the decaying walls. Mark, the skeptic of the group, scoffed at the idea, dismissing the supernatural as mere folklore. The trio gathered their equipment, cameras with lenses that could pierce the dark, and audio recorders sensitive to the faintest whispers. Excitement mingled with trepidation as they approached the looming structure, its silhouette an imposing monument to the town's forgotten horrors. The rusted gates groaned open, protesting the intrusion of the living into a realm long abandoned. A cold breeze swept through the air, carrying with it a symphony of distant howls and mysterious whispers. The moon, shrouded in wisps of clouds, cast an ethereal glow upon the scene as the friends stepped into the unknown. Inside, the air hung heavy with the scent of decay and memories long buried. The floor beneath their feet creaked, protesting the weight of their presence. Dust danced in the air, catching the moonlight in spectral patterns. The friends exchanged uneasy glances, but the thrill of the dare propelled them forward. They ventured deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, each step echoing through the emptiness like a drumbeat. The silence was broken only by the distant creaks and groans of the old building. As they explored, the atmosphere thickened, and an oppressive feeling settled over them. Sarah, usually the voice of reason, couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Her gaze darted to the shadows, half expecting to see elusive figures lurking just beyond sight. Mark, ever the skeptic, rolled his eyes at her unease, attributing it to an overactive imagination. As the friends set up their equipment in a dimly lit room, the air turned electric with anticipation. Alex, with a daring grin, urged his friends to embrace the eerie ambience. They laughed nervously, trying to dismiss the growing tension that coiled around them. Little did they know that the ancient spirits, disturbed by their intrusion, had awakened. Unseen eyes followed their every move, and spectral whispers grew louder, carrying tales of long-forgotten horrors. The stage was set for a night that would etch itself into the annals of Raven Shadow's haunted history. And so, under the pale moonlight, the friends pressed on, unaware of the evil forces that stirred within the haunted abattoir. The echoes of their laughter intertwined with the ghostly whispers, marking the beginning of a descent into a nightmarish realm where the living and the dead collided in a dance of shadows and secrets. Shadows in the dark. The abandoned slaughterhouse seemed to inhale the trio as they ventured further into its depths, a labyrinth of decay and forgotten horrors. The air grew colder, the atmosphere more oppressive. Shadows clung to the corners, dancing with an otherworldly evil. As they moved deeper, the flickering light from their flashlights cast distorted shadows on the peeling walls. Sarah's unease intensified, a knot tightening in her stomach. The whispered legends of the slaughterhouse seemed to materialize in the subtle movements of darkness around them. Mark, ever the skeptic, teased Sarah for her growing apprehension. Yet, even he couldn't ignore the strange occurrences. Unexplained creaks echoed through the corridors, and distant whispers brushed against their ears like ethereal fingertips. The friends set up their cameras in a room that seemed frozen in time. Rust-covered hooks hung from the ceiling, remnants of a gruesome past. Alex, determined to capture evidence of the supernatural, urged his friends to remain vigilant. Little did they know, the spirits within the abattoir were awakening to their intrusion. As the camera started rolling, the air became charged with an otherworldly energy. The audio recorders picked up faint whispers, indistinct yet laden with centuries-old grievances. Shadows seemed to detach from the walls, coalescing into ephemeral figures that lingered just beyond the edge of perception. In the dim light, the friends exchanged uneasy glances. The initial excitement now gave way to a palpable tension. The slaughterhouse, once silent, groaned with the weight of its own history. Each step felt like an intrusion into a forbidden realm, and the friends couldn't escape the feeling that they were being watched by unseen eyes. The flickering lights played tricks on their senses, and the shadows took on a life of their own. Sarah's flashlight faltered, casting elongated shadows that seemed to reach out towards them. The walls whispered secrets, the remnants of the past seeping into the present. As they moved through the corridors, the temperature dropped further. Their breath formed spectral clouds in the chilled air. Mark, still trying to maintain his skepticism, couldn't shake the feeling of an unseen presence. He attempted to rationalize the eerie occurrences, but logic crumbled in the face of the supernatural. The friends reached a room cloaked in darkness, the air thick with an unsettling stillness. Alex, undeterred by the mounting unease, encouraged them to press on. But as they moved forward, the shadows deepened, twisting into grotesque shapes that seemed to defy the laws of physics. A distant sound echoed, a low, guttural moan that sent shivers down their spines. Their flashlights flickered, threatening to plunge them into total darkness. Panic set in, a primal fear that transcended rational thought. The spectral figures that had lurked in the shadows now manifested more boldly, their forms shifting and contorting in a macabre dance. In a moment of chilling realization, the friends understood that the legends were not mere stories but echoes of a dark reality. The slaughterhouse held secrets that defied the boundaries of life and death. As they stumbled backward, the air thickened with the weight of a malevolent force that bore witness to the sins of the past. The room seemed to pulse with an otherworldly heartbeat. Shadows encroached, swallowing the feeble light, and the friends felt an unseen hand brushing against their skin. The line between the living and the spectral blurred, and the true horror of the abattoir unfolded before their wide-eyed gaze. And so, in the heart of the haunted slaughterhouse, the friends became unwitting participants in a nightmarish spectacle. The shadows whispered tales of anguish and despair, and the air became saturated with the residual pain of souls long forgotten. The stage was set for a confrontation with a darkness that transcended the limits of mortal understanding, as the friends stood on the precipice of a descent into madness. The Vanishing Act. A chill hung in the air, an ominous prelude to the events that would unfold within the haunted confines of the slaughterhouse. The room, now thick with the resonance of the supernatural, held the trio in a silent grip as they grappled with the eerie manifestations around them. Mark, the skeptic who had once dismissed the whispers as mere figments of imagination, now felt a shiver crawl down his spine. The flickering lights seemed to dance to an otherworldly rhythm, casting a play of shadows that reached out like ghostly fingers. Alex and Sarah, too, were no strangers to the unsettling atmosphere, their expressions etched with a mixture of fear and fascination. As they lingered in the room, the air pulsated with an unseen energy. The audio recorders captured ethereal whispers that seemed to resonate from the very walls of the slaughterhouse. The trio, unnerved yet compelled to press on, decided to explore further into the heart of the paranormal phenomena. Their path led them through winding corridors, each step echoing through the desolate chambers. Sarah's gaze darted nervously from one shadowy corner to another, her instinct screaming that something was amiss. Mark, though still attempting to maintain a facade of skepticism, could no longer ignore the palpable sense of foreboding that clung to the air. It was in one particularly dimly lit corridor that the unsettling climax of their night began to unfold. As they moved deeper, the walls seemed to close in, the oppressive darkness pressing against them. The flickering lights became sporadic, casting the corridor into intermittent pools of obscurity. Then, without warning, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence. The friends turned in unison, their flashlights trembling in their hands. It was Mark who had cried out, his voice a mix of terror and disbelief. Yet, when they focused their lights on him, he was not there. Panic seized Alex and Sarah as they called out to Mark, their voices reverberating through the hollow corridors. But the darkness swallowed his presence, leaving no trace of their skeptical friend. The air thickened with an unspoken dread as the reality of Mark's disappearance sank in. Frantically, they retraced their steps, their footsteps now accompanied by the haunting echo of uncertainty. Mark's absence became a void, a mystery that defied explanation. The very walls seemed to taunt them with their silence. In their search, they stumbled upon a room that emanated an unnatural aura. Symbols, ancient and esoteric, adorned the walls in crimson. It was a macabre tapestry, a testament to the rituals performed within the Slaughterhouse's unhallowed chambers. Sarah's breath caught as she recognized the symbols from her research into the town's dark history. As they scanned the room for any sign of Mark, the audio recorders captured distorted voices, murmuring incantations that sent shivers down their spines. The room seemed to breathe, a malevolent force awakening in response to the intrusion. The friends realized they had become entangled in a web of supernatural machinations, and Mark, the skeptic turned victim, was at its center. With a growing sense of dread, they returned to the room where they had set up their equipment. The footage and recordings, once innocent tools to capture the paranormal, now held the key to unraveling the mysteries surrounding Mark's disappearance. As they reviewed the recordings, a sickening revelation dawned. The shadows in the footage moved with a purpose of their own, converging upon Mark with an ethereal malevolence. The symbols on the walls pulsed with an unseen energy, sealing his fate in a dark covenant. The friends, now consumed by a desperate determination, realized that their exploration had awakened forces beyond their understanding. The Slaughterhouse, a vessel for unspeakable atrocities, held a malevolent intelligence that preyed upon the living. In the eerie glow of their screens, they watched as Mark vanished into the clutches of the supernatural, his form consumed by the shadows. The realization hit them like a wave, and the room seemed to close in, suffocating them with the weight of their newfound knowledge. And so, in the haunted halls of the Slaughterhouse, the friends stood at the precipice of a chilling revelation. Mark's disappearance was not a mere accident but a calculated act by the vengeful spirits that lingered within. The symbols on the walls whispered of a forgotten pact, and the trio, now fractured by fear and despair, faced an uncertain fate in the heart of the abattoir's malevolent embrace, unveiling the horrors. In the aftermath of Mark's mysterious disappearance, Alex and Sarah found themselves grappling with an unsettling truth: the haunted Slaughterhouse held secrets that transcended the boundaries of their understanding. The room, where moments ago they had felt the oppressive weight of the supernatural, now seemed to mock their vulnerability. With trepidation etched across their faces, they returned to the footage and audio recordings, hoping to unravel the enigma of Mark's vanishing act. The screens flickered to life, casting an eerie glow in the dim room. As they watched the events of that fateful night unfold, the unsettling reality became inescapable. The footage showed Mark wandering through the haunted corridors, his skepticism slowly giving way to a subtle unease. Shadows moved with an unnatural purpose, converging upon him like silent predators. The symbols on the walls pulsed with an unseen energy, reacting to the intrusion of the living. Then, in a heartbeat, Mark was swallowed by the darkness. His form contorted as if caught in an evil embrace, and the friends realized with a sinking horror that the spectral entities within the Slaughterhouse had claimed him. The room seemed to echo with Mark's final cries, a testament to the vengeful forces that lurked within. As they reviewed the audio recordings, distorted voices murmured incantations that sent shivers down their spines. The symbols on the walls, once mere decorations, now revealed their true nature, a binding ritual that sealed Mark's fate. The friends, confronted by the supernatural machinations at play, felt the weight of a darkness that defied explanation. With a growing sense of urgency, Alex and Sarah searched for clues within the room. They discovered a hidden compartment beneath the floorboards, containing tattered journals and artifacts that spoke of a forgotten chapter in the town's history. The journals chronicled a series of gruesome rituals performed within the slaughterhouse, unleashing a malevolent force that hungered for the souls of the living. The artifacts, adorned with symbols identical to those on the walls, radiated an otherworldly energy. As they delved deeper into the journals, a chilling narrative emerged, a tale of atrocities committed in the name of forbidden knowledge, a pact with the supernatural that bound the souls of the departed to the cursed abattoir. The realization struck them like a thunderclap. Mark, unwittingly, had become a pawn in a dark game that spanned centuries. The friends, now burdened by the weight of the revelation, understood that they were entangled in a struggle between the living and the vengeful spirits that sought retribution. Driven by a desperate need to save Mark, they embarked on a perilous journey to confront the malevolent force within the slaughterhouse. Armed with newfound knowledge and a sense of grim determination, they navigated the haunted corridors with a cautious resolve. The air seemed charged with an otherworldly energy as they reached the room adorned with symbols. The walls pulsed with an unseen heartbeat, and the atmosphere crackled with an intensity that bordered on the supernatural. The friends, now facing the very heart of the abattoir's darkness, braced themselves for a confrontation with the spectral entities that lurked within. As they entered the room, the symbols glowed with an ethereal light. The air thickened with an otherworldly presence, and a haunting melody whispered through the silence. The friends, now guided by a sense of grim purpose, felt the weight of the town's forgotten sins pressing upon them. In the dim light, the apparitions of tortured souls materialized before them. Faces distorted by anguish and despair pleaded for release. The room became a canvas of spectral torment, each entity a testament to the atrocities that stained the slaughterhouse's history. And then, amidst the haunting tableau, they saw Mark, a spectral echo trapped in a limbo between worlds. His eyes, once filled with skepticism, now mirrored the terror of the departed. The friends, torn between grief and determination, understood that they held the key to liberating Mark's soul from the clutches of the supernatural. With a solemn resolve, they recited an incantation found in the tattered journals, their voices blending with the spectral melody that permeated the room. The symbols on the walls flickered and waned, the malevolent force weakening in the face of the friends' desperate plea. As the final words left their lips, the apparitions began to dissipate, their anguished cries fading into the ethereal melody. Mark's spectral form trembled before gradually fading into the light. The room, once cloaked in darkness, now stood in a muted stillness. In the aftermath of the supernatural confrontation, Alex and Sarah felt an overwhelming sense of both sorrow and relief. The spectral entities, once imprisoned within the cursed abattoir, had found a semblance of peace. Mark, freed from the limbo between worlds, left behind a lingering gratitude that transcended the boundaries of the living and the departed. The haunted slaughterhouse, its secrets unveiled and its evil quelled, now stood as a testament to the resilience of the living in the face of ancient darkness. The friends, forever changed by their harrowing ordeal, emerged from the decaying walls with a newfound appreciation for the fragility of life and the enduring power of friendship. And so, under the waning moonlight, they left the haunted corridors behind, carrying with them the echoes of a nightmarish journey that blurred the lines between the realms of the living and the dead. The town of Raven Shadow, once shrouded in whispers of malevolence, now bore witness to the triumphant resilience of the human spirit against the shadows that sought to consume it. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. Be sure to comment below to help my channel grow. See you next time.